So welcome everybody. Obviously, my name is Shamsu Chowdhury, and I work for the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum as a trustee and a volunteer, and I manage the operations and the development of this organization. And today we have a workshop which is called Overcoming Low Mood and Increasing Motivation, which will be facilitated by our partner colleagues at Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies. And I'm going to let Khudaija introduce herself to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Khudaija. Thank you for the introduction. I am one of the clinicians at Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies, and my actual role is community engagement. But I deliver a lot of these kind of webinars, and I'm looking forward to the one we're doing today, where we're going to be looking at lots of different things around mood and how we can actually improve our mood and increase our motivation, hopefully. Thanks, Shamsu.
So as Khudaija mentioned, today, obviously, as she mentioned, we're looking at how we could overcome low mood and increase motivation, understand the impact of low mood on your day-to-day activities, and she'll be offering us practical techniques to increase motivation. We had a very similar workshop not last week on coping through COVID, and we went through the very basics of low mood. And I think today is a good workshop because it's like a follow-on. And what I find is Khudaija always provides a bit more insight and practical techniques. So those people that joined us last week actually would find it quite beneficial today because it'll be hopefully more practical in the sense of some techniques that we can take away from it. Just a few things before we start. Obviously, I'd like to highlight to you that if you can kindly put your microphones on mute, and obviously I'll do that myself as well if it isn't on mute. If you have any questions, we want to make this workshop interactive, obviously within the time frame that we have. We'd like you to contribute. You can raise your hands or you can put the thumb up on chat function. But try to keep your questions or anything within the topic, and anything personal. If it gets too personal, it's more insightful. You might want to leave it to the end where we can discuss it with you on a one-to-one basis, or on a separate, on a one-to-one phone call. So we're happy to facilitate that, but we'll try to keep within the discussion of our workshop and within the topic guide. Another thing I've noticed, if you experience any video streaming issues, I think the best thing to do is switch your camera off and just leave your audio on. It gives you a better experience generally if you're having issues with your online streaming. As I mentioned, this workshop is being recorded at this right moment. I will put it on our YouTube page if you want to view it. I'll send you the links afterwards. And as mentioned, if you don't want your face to be on the camera, then please switch your camera off. But as I mentioned also, currently what you see, you'll only capture 2-3 people anyway, which is myself and Khudaija, which is fine. The other thing is, it's really important that obviously I've noticed a lot of people have not registered for this workshop, and it's important that we have your contact details. So what I would like you to do is encourage you to email me on the chat function. You can directly message me, and my direct message name is Shamsu Chowdhury. Please send me your email address so we can stay in touch. Then I can let you know of future workshops, or future involvement opportunities, or just if you just want to get involved with us. So, and all the other information that we get, signposting forward to you as well. Before that, just a quick brief introduction about our organization. We are called the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum. We're set up in 1999, so we've been around for a long time. We're a grassroots mental health charity set up by local professionals, mental health professionals in 1999. Obviously, there's a big need of mental health and lack of mental health professionals in the community, so they decided to set up this organization. In the last few years, we've developed substantially as an organization, where historically we only did one annual event, mental health event. In recent years, we're very proactive, which I'll just tell you about now. But before I do, just to let you know what we do. So our main objective is to raise an awareness of mental health in the community, to get people talking about mental health, for example, challenging, overcoming stigma, which is really crucial. to increase access to services. We'll find that a lot of people from our community, especially from BME communities in Tower Hamlets, or across generally, they access less services, across mental health mainstream services. And the other key things that we do is support people with signposting to access local and national services. And we do this by a lot of functions. So currently we do workshops, we do group activities, we organize events in the community, we do media campaign, like we've made some videos we can find on the YouTube channel. We've got a dual language leaflet that we have in Bengali. And obviously post-COVID, we have lots of workshops in the community. We do lots of stuff in the schools and the community centers. And we try to set up small groups, but currently, obviously, all of our activities are online. And it's been substantially, successful the last 6 months in terms of interaction with the community. So far we've had about 10, 12 workshops in the last 6 months. And the attendance has been great and the feedback has been great, and it's a platform that we want to continue. So I'll give you at the end of the workshop, after Khadija finishes, I'll give you a list of the remaining workshops that we have left you can attend. Recently, we've set up a signpost, one-to-one signposting service, which I'll talk about later on as well. And we're setting up some well-being group, and we set up a women's group. It's called a Let's Talk Women's Group, which is starting next week, which I'll talk about later as well. So yeah, so those are the things that we're doing currently. Obviously, we want you to get involved with us, encourage you to get involved. These are generally my sort of like contact details, which I'll show you at the end. And I'll share with you also if you leave me your details. But yeah, please take a picture if you want. And these are my details. This is how you can access our YouTube channels and support us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So that's us. I don't know if anybody has any question. If you do, you can leave it to the end, or you can ask me now. That's fine. But if not, I'm going to pass it over to Khadija. Have you got any chat? Let me unlock the chat function before. Okay, that's fine.
There's nothing in the chat box.
That's fine. It's good. People are emailing me their contact details, which I really want, please. So Khadija, shall I share, or would you like to share?
I'm happy to share. Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Right, let me just share that. Okay, can everyone see the slides? Just to make it full screen. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Shamsul. Let's wait till my laptop catches up. Sorry, bear with me, everyone. My laptop just takes a little bit of time. There we go. So hopefully everyone can see the slides at the moment. If there are any issues at any point, please do just let us know. And then I'll try and address any tech issues. Well, obviously, as Shamsul's introduced already, today's webinar, we are going to be looking at mood and increasing our motivation. So the reason we wanted to look at this topic is because, of course, due to the pandemic, the lockdown, the ever-changing situation, it does have an impact on our mood. There's been a huge change to what we are allowed to do. There's a lot of restrictions on at the moment, and that in itself can change our motivation quite a little bit as well. So we may have noticed in the last, almost a year that our motivation's been up and down. We've had some bad days, maybe some good days. And we really just want to try and manage our mood to try and improve how we're feeling. And that's hopefully what we're going to be looking at today. Now, just before I go into the overview, for today's webinar, I will be asking certain things for discussion, and it'd be really great to hear your thoughts. So please do pop any thoughts you might have into the chat box. Obviously, Shamsul, feel free to contribute as well, because I think the more that we put into something like this, the more we get out of it. So I'd really be keen to hear all of your thoughts and all your insights throughout today's session as well. So I just want to start off with an introduction. Of course, as I've said earlier, I am from Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies. And if anyone hasn't heard of us before, we are a therapy service. We're under the NHS, so all of our services are free. And we support people who struggle with low mood, anxiety, depression, stress, etc. So if at the end of today's workshop you feel that actually I might need something a little bit more, then you can always refer to us. You just need to see our website, and I'll pop that onto the chat box at the end. So you can have a look at all the different things we offer. We've got various types of therapy. So please do feel free to refer if you live within the borough, and if you're over the age of 18, then you are more than welcome to refer yourself. So today's session, we're going to start off with looking at what is low mood. So for all of us in the room today, what is depression? What does it actually look like? And we'll hopefully start to find some similarities, but also some differences between all of our experiences of this. Then what we're going to look at are our day-to-day activities and how our low mood has had an impact on these. And lastly, we're going to look at some very practical, very proactive techniques to increase motivation. So these are things that you can take away with you today. You can hopefully practice them in your own day-to-day life to try and slowly improve your mood. So hopefully that fulfills some of the aims you had today for the webinar. So I just want to hand it over to everyone. If you all just want to open up your chat box, I just want to hear a bit from everyone about what comes to mind when you think of low mood. You know, what does it feel like? What does it look like to you?
Do you want me to unmute everybody?
Yeah, sure. Unmute is fine as well. If you're happy to share verbally, then please do.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. What I understand with the low mood is you don't feel motivated to do anything.
Exactly.
You feel very lethargic and tired, and yeah, not feeling to talk to anybody.
100%. So having that kind of withdrawal from other people, feeling tired, no motivation, 100%. Thank you for sharing that.
So on the chat today, there's somebody, Shanazi said feeling low. Henrietta said don't want to do anything.
Yeah, so there's that lack of
motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So we kind of really will notice that we're not doing things that maybe we used to. So let's try and think of this in a bit more detail. You know, if everyone thinks about when they felt quite demotivated, were there any particular things that we noticed, I didn't do that for a while? I made excuses to do that particular activity. Any examples do we have? Again, if we use the chat box, I'll start off with myself as an example. I know at the start of lockdown, I felt too demotivated to do exercise, was just staying at home, not exercising because I felt low. So that was one of the main activities that was affected. So about for everyone here, have you noticed any particular activities that were impacted? I'll give you a few bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah, similar to you, I think, to be honest, when I experience low mood, I don't feel like doing anything. And it's just feeling lethargic.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very difficult to come out of it, you know, and I just have to fight myself to get out of it.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Shanta. Yeah, I'm just seeing in the chat box as well, Nazim has just said feeling overwhelmed with homeschooling. This is such a key point, isn't it? I think obviously as parents, with all the changes at the moment with the schooling and education, having to maybe juggle working from home as well as trying to homeschool, that creates so much pressure for us. So then we might get lost in that cycle where we do what we know we need to do, but maybe we're not really doing much else. You know, we're doing our work, getting that done. We're making sure our child is you know, getting on with their homeschooling, but then actually we don't feel any pleasure, perhaps. We're not kind of doing things we would like to do because there's just too many other pressures. Maybe some of us can relate to that as well. Yeah. Any other ideas or thoughts? Lack of appetite. Thank you, Ruqayya, 100%. Has anyone else noticed this? This is such a common symptom around appetite. So common, whether this is under eating or overeating. And obviously, as you can imagine, if we undereat, this has an impact on our physical body. We'll feel tired and therefore less able to do things. And if we overeat, we sometimes are left feeling quite guilty and quite negative about ourselves, hence affecting our mood as well. Henrietta, thank you. Just don't want to do anything, including what I used to like doing. Couldn't care less attitude. Yeah, I think we've all probably felt this at some point, and this is a key thing we're going through today. Poor self-image, yeah. Self-critical thoughts, that negative self-talk also does come hand in hand when we're feeling low. We just feel useless. You know, we think, why couldn't I do that? It doesn't take much, but I just didn't even bother doing it. What an unproductive day. How useless am I? These are some of the thoughts that we can definitely get when we're feeling low. Thank you, Erin, for sharing that. I'm just seeing if there's any last thoughts.
You know, I was going to say, when you're feeling low, you know those negative thoughts that you have in your head? They always come back.
Yeah.
And it makes it even more worse. So when I'm feeling low, I have extra all these other things, issues in my life, you know, coming into my head.
Yeah, definitely. We start to ruminate a lot more about past things, you know, all these negatives can just start coming into our head. So obviously we can already see how low mood as a term itself shows so many different things for all of us. But hopefully from these discussions, we can see there are some links between all of us that we have all experienced something a little bit similar. We've just had lack of concentration. Yes, such a key point. How many of us struggle to focus on our work or even doing something for ourselves? If we're watching TV, we just can't focus. We're too busy thinking about something. Very, very common, definitely. Thank you for that, everyone. If there's anything else, please do pop it in the chat box. It's still really helpful just to have that in there. And we'll go through a few things later. So we want to think, what is the difference between low mood and depression? Because on the previous slide, we said low mood. And here we're saying, what is depression? So the main thing I want us all to remember is just because you feel low doesn't mean that you're necessarily depressed. Low mood is very normal, is very common. We'll all have those up and down days, but it's obviously how we manage those down days. But when we have this clinical kind of diagnosis of depression is when we have this more long-term, more chronic, that there's not a single day where we felt good about ourselves or what's going on for us. And this is where we want to remember that when we have low mood or depression, either way, it's all about the presence of the negative emotions, but also the absence of positive emotions. So what we'll find with that full-blown actual depression is that this is really the case a lot of the days, whereas with low mood, we might find we feel low, but obviously if something goes well, we still feel a little bit happy about it, perhaps. It's not completely the absence of the positive emotions. So low mood, think of it much more short-term. We can kind of climb our way out of it a little bit easier, and it's not going on day after day after day. But what we want to focus on today is how to actually make ourselves feel better. Now, obviously with depression, we want to think about the impact it has on our day-to-day functioning. So again, think about your own lives at the minute and how that is going. We can also think of depression and even low mood. It's a collection of events, behaviors, and feelings that can come together. And we'll be looking at this in a diagram in the next slide. Now, persistent low mood fails to lift even when good things occur, and we can start to feel worthless, inadequate, guilty, anxious. So you might be able to relate to some of these. As I've said, it's all about trying to see what can I do about it rather than dwelling on what actually is going on for me. Okay. So this is one of the models that I'm just going to look at, and this is called the 5-area model, and this is a really key foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm just going to mute everyone. So with this model, while we're talking about it, I just want you all again to try and relate it to your own experiences, because usually if we reflect, I've been feeling low, we'll remember maybe a bit about how we felt, what we did a little bit differently, but this really allows us to break it down into specific parts. So the first area of the 5-area model is the situation, the trigger, what started me feeling this way. And the other 4 are all around our symptoms, but these are split into our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, and our physical symptoms. So I'm going to go through the example on the slide, but obviously, as I've said, please do make up your own example while you are at home and try and make this relate a little bit more to yourself. We'll go through 2 examples of this.
Sorry, is it possible to make it slide a bit bigger?
Unfortunately, I can't, but what I'll do is I'll go through it in detail, so hopefully I'll be able to read out to you. My apologies. I don't think I can make it. No, I don't think I can make it bigger. Sorry about the rotator. I'll zoom in. Has that zoomed in?
It has, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so we'll do it this way. So we have a situation here that has triggered off our low mood, and let's say we're walking down the road, we waved at a friend and they didn't wave back. Now, if we're feeling low already, we're feeling a bit worthless generally, we're going to start off with having these critical thoughts in our mind. He doesn't want to know me. What did I do wrong? No one likes me. I'm useless. Very negative, very self-critical. So of course, as we can imagine, we're going to feel a certain way. We might feel depressed, embarrassed, annoyed, all these different things. Then we have our physical symptoms because our body is going to react. So now we might feel headaches, nauseous, lethargic, hot and flustered. Now these 3 things are physical, our thoughts and our emotions. They're not pleasant. We don't want to feel like that. And hence we will start to now behave in a certain way to tackle how we're just feeling. So by behaviors, this is things we are doing or not doing because of how we feel. So as a result of the situation, now I might ignore that friend. I'll avoid social events because I don't want to see them. I might stay in bed just to ignore the whole thing that's happened today. I might eat too much to make myself feel better. Or maybe I won't have an appetite because I feel so rubbish, so I won't eat anything. I might stay up late because I just can't get to sleep. Or I might sleep too much because, again, I'm trying to ignore the problem. So as we can see, all of these symptoms are interlinked. They all have an impact on each other. And I'm just going to go through one more example that we can hopefully all relate to. So I'm going to zoom in again just so we can see the headings here. So, situation. Let's say it's another one where we've purely just woken up in the morning. That is the trigger. That is what started me feeling low. I've just woke up. Okay, we might all be able to relate to this. When we wake up and we just think it's going to be such a terrible day, and there might not be a reason behind it. So I want us all to think about this now. That if we've woke up, we're already starting to feel low. What might those critical thoughts be in our mind? What would be the thoughts in our mind? Woke up. Feel free to use the chat box, but I'll give you about 30 seconds or so to have a think and to type this in the box.
So can you just repeat that, Khadija? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. So just asking that if we have this situation where we wake up in the morning and we feel quite low generally for no particular reason, what might be those first initial negative thoughts that come up into our mind? So just like in this example that we waved at a friend who didn't wave back, these are the thoughts that might happen. So just imagine you're in bed, you're feeling low. What would we start to think? I'll give you about 30 seconds or so for any ideas. And there's no wrong answer with this because we'll all have our own thoughts here. And if you're not sure, let me know, and then I'll be able to go through a few more examples. Perfect, thank you. We've got a few responses. Will I get anything done today? I just want to go back to bed. Yeah, definitely. That would definitely count as those thoughts that come up. Any other ideas? Let's give you another sort of 20, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Being worthless, yeah. So we'll go into the emotion very shortly, but that's really relevant. Avoid thinking about anything, so we stay in bed. So we'll go on to this as well. So this is in our behaviors. So I'll just give you a few examples on the thoughts. The thoughts are literally exactly what is going through your mind at this stage. So imagine you're lying in bed, feeling rubbish, and now straight away I can't be bothered, perhaps. What's the point in doing anything? I'm not going to achieve anything useful. What's the point? The days are all the same anyway at the moment. Will I get anything done? I just want to stay in bed. These are the thoughts. These are exactly what we're thinking at this time. So we've already had a few examples of this, but now let's go to the emotions. So we've got these negative thoughts. We're thinking, I can't be bothered. What's the point? And someone has already said we feel worthless. Any other emotions we might feel? What do we think? Again, I'll give you about 30 seconds to think about what emotions we might feel. Hopeless, sad, yeah, definitely. Tired, we would put as a physical, but that's really true. Crying would be a behavior because it's what we're doing, definitely. We want to kind of think that, why am I crying? What am I feeling to make me cry? And we might think, well, I'm upset. Therefore, we've got the emotion. We might think, well, I'm tired. Well, how was I feeling to make me, quite tired physically? I might feel that, well, I was really anxious, for example. Lost self-esteem. Yep, so this can be one that we link in, I guess, with the thoughts, if we think I'm hopeless or I'm useless, because this is what we're thinking about ourselves, yeah? Definitely, so we've got a few examples there of the emotions. So now let's look at the physical symptoms. Someone's already said tired, but again, let's think about how we were the last time we felt very low or depressed or demotivated. What was happening within our body? How did our body respond? Again, I'll give you about 30 seconds just to share your thoughts on that one.
I mean, generally for me, Khadija, I've got high blood pressure. So
yeah, that's a very real physical symptom, isn't it?
So for me, it gets worse.
Yes, exactly. Very affected by mood and stress, definitely. Yeah. We've got withdrawal. So withdrawal will come under behaviors, and I'll go through why shortly, but that's a really good idea. Thank you for that. So what else do we feel within our body? Yes, sweating, definitely. If we feel a bit anxious or stressed at the situation, we can feel that. Aches, yeah, muscle tension. We might notice if we feel low or even stressed, we'll be tensing our muscles without even realizing it. And that is what can cause these aches in our body when we're feeling that tension. Yeah. Any other ideas? Tiredness is the most common one, which we've gone through. Yeah. But feeling dizzy. Yeah. So all of these different things, because we're feeling distressed at this point, aren't we? So let's look at the last part, and these are the behaviors. So we've had a few examples already. So just remember, the behaviors are how we're acting differently, what we are doing or not doing because of how we're feeling. So withdrawal from other people or activities has been suggested already. Crying is a behavior because it's something I'm doing because of how I'm feeling. Yeah. Any other ideas of behavior changes? And then think about yourselves. I'll give you about 30 seconds to think of some behaviors.
I mean, for some people, obviously, I mean, for me, tend to eat less.
Mm.
Other people I've noticed tend to eat more.
Yeah, it varies, doesn't it? Yeah, the appetite is very true. Yeah. Being lazy. So let's think of that being lazy in a bit more detail. What exactly are you not doing because you're being lazy? Let's have a think about that and just send me, that's for anyone to answer. Becoming defensive. Yeah. So how are we becoming defensive? Are we, becoming irritable at other people? Are we shouting? Spending too much time by yourself, that's a behavior change, because maybe normally we wouldn't, but because of how horrible we feel, we're just wanting to stay by ourselves, not feeling like going out. Yeah. Even within obviously our restrictions at the moment, have we stopped going for walks or stopped exercising? Have we stopped cooking maybe? A lot of the time with low mood is things that we have stopped doing. So think about those activities. This is something we're going to go into more detail on as well today.
And I think what Fatima's mentioned about easily upset, I mean, I can relate to that.
100%. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Definitely. But hopefully just from that, because obviously I think the first step of understanding ourselves is understanding our mood. Why is it like this? So this is why we go through the cycle to start demonstrating how these symptoms are all linked together. Now, when we're trying to feel better, it's showing us that we don't necessarily need to improve our thoughts and our emotions and everything, because one negative symptom at the moment is making the others negative. In the same way, if we improve one of these, it will make the others more positive as well. And today we're going to focus on the behaviors, because it's very hard to talk ourselves out of an emotion. It's very hard to challenge our negative thoughts, but our behaviors are one of the first things we can try and start changing, which is what we're going to look at. And to see a bit more in the chat box as well. So change in mood, hot tempers, all very true. So I would definitely recommend create this cycle for yourself at home. What does your cycle look like? What are your triggers? And see how you get on with that. So this is just to kind of summarize a little bit that when we are feeling depressed, this can make us feel tired, we have no energy, we feel unmotivated. As a result, we neglect things. We avoid things that give us achievement or pleasure. But because of this, we now feel guilty, we feel low. So we continue to feel depressed, we continue to feel tired, we continue to avoid things, and this keeps on going round. Okay, this is where we're stuck at the moment. So this is what we want to break. So, as I said earlier, we're going to be focusing on the behavior changes. So what we can see here is that when we feel depressed, these are some things that we stop doing. We stop doing things we enjoy. We might not be sleeping or eating well. We might stay at home more. We might stay in bed. We might stop seeing friends and family. Overall, we do less, don't we? Now, a lot of the time we can think, well, I'll wait to feel better. And once I feel better, I'll go and do something. But actually, it doesn't work like this, because we may be waiting a while to feel better. Instead, we want to reverse this and change it to action gives us motivation. Doing something, even if I do not want to, will allow me to feel more motivated. Okay, this is really what we want to do. So I'm just going to check that everyone is muting. A bit of background noise. There we go. So we want to also think about this in another way, that at the minute, we let how we feel affect what we're doing. So we're working inside out. We want to reverse this and work outside in. We want to let what we're doing affect how we're feeling. Because if we feel rubbish and we do something anyway that we enjoy, we're going to feel good. And if we feel good, we'll do a little bit more, hopefully, or we'll feel motivated to do something else. So by doing more and increasing our activity, this helps to improve our mood, and it breaks that cycle that we've mentioned today. The more we do, the more we increase our sense of pleasure, and this has a positive impact on our mood. So how do we actually start to do this? Obviously, easier said than done, isn't it? But we're going to look at a very specific way to start doing this. So first thing is all about balance. Now, before we go into this list, I just want us to think about these 3 types of activities. We've got pleasurable activities, which are things we enjoy doing, things we feel happy to do, you know, whether it's with other people or hobbies or anything like that. Then we've got our routine activities, things we do on a daily basis, household chores, things like that, day to day. And then we have necessary things, things that if we do not do, that there will be a consequence. If we don't pay that bill, obviously we will get fined. If I don't call up for my car insurance, it's going to run out. You know, these are what we class as necessary. And we need a balance between all three. But when we are feeling low, we may feel that this balance is not quite there. So I just want you all to take 30 seconds again, have a think. Have you got pleasurable activities in your life at the moment, and routine and necessary? Or actually, are one or two of these a bit neglected? Put in the chat box which ones you have and which ones you don't have at the moment. I'll give you a bit of time to just think about that. So just have a think. What are we doing more of? Are we doing more pleasurable and neglecting the others, or actually are we neglecting all three? Just have a think and post when you're ready.
I mean, for us at this right moment with the lockdown and everything, and looking after homeschooling, I think the necessary activities are sort of like taking over our life. And that's what I find. I mean, I'm balanced with, I mean, juggling my work, trying to do this role on a voluntary basis. Then I have children at home. You know, we have 3 children at home.
Yeah.
And we have to ensure that, you know, and that becomes a priority, ensuring that they're, you know, studying, you know, giving them time, making them food.
Yeah,
it becomes, I mean, the whole day is very unbalanced at this right moment.
Yeah, no,
it's very stressful, and like at the end of the day, you just feel tired.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And that, that impacts on your mood and, you know, and my well-being. And I'm feeling lethargic at the end of the day, and I'm just not feeling happy.
Yeah.
Some days. Well, it's different days, obviously, how you feel, but yeah, so.
Yeah, definitely. I've just had a bit in the chat box as well. So someone's doing all three, but when time is tight, we let things like tidying slip. Try doing everything, but then pleasurable things slip and the anxiety increases. Someone else lacking with routine, especially household chores. Yeah. Don't like taking medication, but then otherwise gardening and walking. I assume these are being neglected. So it's interesting to see how all of our balances will be different. And the reason we bring this up is to know what we want to make actual actions on. We need to know what we're not doing enough of at the moment. So I know for myself, when I feel low or when I've got lots of demands, I'll focus on the necessary. I'll focus on getting things done in my routine activities. I won't bother with pleasurable. That comes second. But if you can imagine if you had a loved one or a friend who perhaps was using all their free time to do necessary and routine, we'd be very quick to tell them, well, actually, you need to prioritize yourself. You need to do something for you. But actually, we need to show that same care for ourselves. Okay. We've had a little bit more in the chat box. So low mood comes from being unable to do pleasurable activities. Routine is kept to a minimum. We've got another comment, we feel like crying. And this is why these behaviors are important, because we'll keep ourselves busy. We have less time to dwell on our thoughts or what's going on in our mind. So again, another task for you all to complete after the session is make a list of all your pleasurable activities possible, whether you're doing them or not. Have your list ready. Have a list of your routine things. Have a list of your necessary. Because if we feel low and, you know, we might be thinking, well, the lady in the webinar said we need to do things that I enjoy, but I don't really know what I can do. If we have a list already there for us from things we used to enjoy, things we used to do, then actually that becomes that little bit easier. That, okay, I've got that list actually. Let me have a look and see which one I can do. And we start with the one that feels the easiest. It might be 5 minutes of reading. It might be watching something on TV, whatever it might be. We start with the easiest one. And basically what we want to do is incorporate the balance. Because as much as I'm saying pleasurable is important, if we're doing things we enjoy all the time, every day, but then our house is a mess and we haven't paid our bills, we're going to have an impact on our mood. We want to make sure we're doing a bit of all of these to ensure we're feeling okay. So how do we actually start putting this into action? So we want to start to plan our activities. Planning is key when we are not motivated, because we're very driven by our mind, by how we're feeling, and we need to change this. So what we want to do is we want to plan certain goals, be really specific with our goals, and then plan how we're going to achieve that. Having a plan in itself will make it more realistic to achieve something. Because how many of us think in the morning that I've got all this to do, but I'll see how I feel? That we might never feel well enough to do those things in that day. But if we have a plan that at 10 a.m. I'm doing X, Y, and Z, at 12 I'm doing this for 20 minutes, etc., we'll be more mentally prepared for the day, and that will help increase our motivation slowly. Okay. Excuse me. So what we want to think about here is something called SMART goals, which we're going to go on to. But the main takeaway is we want to make our behaviors more goal directed rather than mood directed. We want to have something in place to achieve rather than waiting to feel like we want to do it, because that might not come. We're feeling low. It's there for a reason. We want to slowly try and improve this. So first of all, how do we make goals SMART goals? So some of you may have heard of this, but it is one of the acronyms that we use, quite common. So now let's say we may have all been in this position. We have a goal in our head that tomorrow I'm going to clean the house. We wake up and we think, nah, I'm too tired. I don't want to do it. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. We put it off, don't we? And that can be really common, to put things off. So instead of having a goal like that, that can be very much more mood directed, we want to change it. We want to make it a SMART goal. So we start off by being specific, because imagine we're feeling low, we're tired. We've seen that 5-area model. We know how many areas are impacted. It's not that easy to just clean the whole house. We be specific. Which particular area in the house will you clean? So we might say, well, I'll clean the kitchen. Already that goal is more manageable for us based on how we're feeling. How are we going to measure this? Is it measurable? How will I know when I've achieved this? What does cleaning the kitchen mean to me? And we might think, well, this would mean the dishes will be washed and the surfaces will be cleaned. Already, again, it seems so much easier, doesn't it? So again, with how we're feeling, this is already helpful. Is it achievable? Is it within my power to do? Physically, I'm able to do it. I have the washing up liquid to do it. I've got enough stuff to clean up. So yeah, it's achievable. Then we think, is it relevant? Is it something that is going to give me something? I might think, well, yeah, it's going to give me a sense of achievement. It'll help towards the house cleaning. Yeah. And lastly, time limited. When are we going to do this in particular? So we might say Saturday morning from 11 till 1 p.m. So again, I wouldn't recommend doing this for 2 hours, but start small. Just do it from 11 till 11:20. So now when we wake up, and instead of it being, I'll clean the house, and thinking, I'm not going to do that, we'll think, well, okay, it's 9 o'clock now. At 11 o'clock, I said I'll clean the kitchen and just do the dishes and clean the surfaces. So yeah, let me get up by then, and then maybe I'll be able to do it. It's only for 20 minutes. So our mindset, just the way that we see the activity, has now changed completely, just based on making a SMART goal. Okay, so this is a really key practice. So just before we move on, actually, I just want to hand this over to all of you in terms of this idea of SMART goals. And I just want us all to spend a few minutes thinking, even for today, let's think of a SMART goal that we want to achieve. So I'll give you maybe about 2 minutes or so. Just have a think about something you've wanted to do for a while, just haven't been able to get motivated. Let's make it SMART, and let's post it in the chat box when you're ready with that one, if that's okay. So we'll just take 2 minutes for that. I'll just put that task in the chat box just as a prompt as well. Okay, so someone said sightseeing. So let's make it SMART. Let's think, how are we going to be specific? What do you want to sightsee? Is it measurable? How will you know when you've done it? Would you have spent some time at that attraction? Is it achievable? Is it something you're able to do right now? Or is the lockdown stopping us? Etc. Follow this pattern and see if you can make it SMART goal. Someone said early bed. Again, make it SMART. What time? When are you going to start doing this? Is it realistic? Will it be difficult because of the kids? Think about all these things. How is it going to be a SMART goal? Because I might say to myself now, I'm going to go early to bed today, but then it might be 9, 10 o'clock. I might say, can't sleep. So there's no point. You know, I don't know what time I was meant to sleep. I just said early. What does that mean? Contact relative. Yeah. So again, make it smart. When? Be specific. Which relative? How is it achievable? Are you going to video call them? Are you going to phone them? Are you going to text them? What time are you going to do this? Do you need to arrange a time for them? Yeah. Nazima, sort out clothes and wardrobe. Spend 30 minutes today in the evening. Definitely. So we're getting there, aren't we, with the smart nature of the goal? So let's be even more specific, because we might think, well, I'll do it in a bit, but then a bit comes and nah, I'll do it later. We can keep putting it off. Put a time to your goal that I'm going to sort out the clothes in my wardrobe at 7 p.m. to 7:30. And I'll know that I've done this because I'm going to have a clear out of things I do not wear. Or sort. What does sorting mean? Is it handing things up? Is it organizing? Be really specific, because otherwise we'll get there and think, well, it's kind of already a bit sorted. You know, I don't know what I meant by that. And then again, we find the excuse to not do it. Okay. Sewing. So with sewing, again, think about what time. When is the best time? Is it better for you in the morning, in the evening? If so, what time and how long for? Have you not done your sewing in a long time? If so, we start with 10 minutes, because that's easier to get motivated for 10 minutes rather than half an hour or an hour. And think, do I have the materials for my sewing? If not, that's your first goal, is getting hold of the materials. So you make that smart. When are you going to go? Where will you go? What time? All these things come up, yeah? Seeing friends and having a meal out. Hopefully meals out are on the cards, according to obviously the government at the moment, in a couple of months. But even seeing friends, when we are allowed to see one person, again, where are we going to go? What time? Who is that person that we're going with? Yeah. So just keep breaking it down. And Mashoda, you've said you keep telling yourself you'll do it, but you never get it done. Therefore, as I said, step one, do you have the materials to do it? If not, this is your goal. How will I get the materials? If you have everything, set yourself a small amount of time, a very small 5-10 minute goal. Today at 7 o'clock, I'm going to do my sewing and alter X, Y, and Z for 10 minutes. That will increase your motivation. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a bit more of a demo of what SMART goals are, but just come back to this slide and always ensure when you have your goal ready, check by each point. Does it fit each part of this? If not, make sure it fits this, because that will help with your motivation. Okay. So obviously in terms of making these changes, we want to think about a couple more things. So we want to think about, what do I want to change? Why do I want to change? And how? These are some key things to think about. Then we think of this idea of SMART goals, as we've already looked at. But in addition to this, we also want to identify the obstacles. What is stopping us from doing this? Let's imagine as a parent, for example, that one thing we really want to do is just spend half an hour in the day reading our book. But whenever we try and sit down to do it, our kids need something, we're trying to support them, or then we have to make dinner and we keep putting it off. So the obstacle might be other people might disrupt me. We might even think, well, actually, I don't have any books. So then let's problem solve. Well, I'll have to read when my kids are asleep. So I'll aim to read at 8 o'clock instead of 6. And I'm going to order a book from Amazon today. And I'm going to check some online reviews of books to pick which book I want to order. And then that should hopefully arrive in 2 days. So therefore, in 2 days, I'll set my goal and then put it into action. Write it down. Have a plan for your week. This is a really good practice to have. So you know what to expect. You know what to look forward to. And you know whether your balance is there or not with your pleasurable, routine, and necessary based on your plan for the next few days. Okay. This is what your plan might look like. That we have Monday to Sunday, morning, afternoon, and evening, everything really specific. And fill this in. Fill in what you already know you're doing. If we work, then we might know, well, in the afternoon, 9 to 5, we're at work, but there might be a bit of time in the morning to do something at 8 o'clock or in the evening. Plan your activities from your list. So remember from this slide here, I said make a list. This is where you put some of those things, not all of them, one pleasurable, one routine, one necessary, and slowly build yourself up. Okay. Now, if all of this fails, we can do something called the 5-minute rule. Now, this is all about, again, motivation. That instead of doing all the bits that we've said today, this is a bit of a different way to do things, is purely we say to ourselves, you know what, I don't want to do the dishes. I don't feel like it, but I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes. Again, it's easier to get motivated for 5 minutes than it would be for 30. So this is why we want to start off with just 5 of any kind of activity. After 5 minutes, we stop, or we might continue. We might find we want to continue. we might find, well, there's only 2 more dishes. I might as well just finish everything, and it's done. Now, the next time we have the dishes, we'll remember this occasion that it was only took me about 5 minutes. So you know what, let me just go and do it. Even with things like ironing, let's say, a bit of a tedious thing. And again, there might be a whole pile of it. Well, let me do it 5 minutes. But then after that 5 minutes, we can stop. Or we might think, you know what, I've started now. Let me just finish off the last few shirts. So just doing something for 5 minutes can help to increase our motivation. Mimic this with walking. You know, if you don't want to walk, well, you're going for 5 minutes, but you might enjoy the fresh air because you usually love walking. And then you'll think, you know what, yeah, let me walk for a bit longer. And apply with every activity we have. So this is a really good one to have a think about. So I'm hoping there's no questions so far, but if there are, please do pop it into the chat box. The last thing I'm just going to mention before we summarize is exercise. Exercise has a huge impact on our mood, and we should really be aiming to do a bit of exercise on a daily basis where possible. Again, make it a SMART goal to allow us to do as much as we can. So I'm just going to mute someone. Thank you. So with this, as I was saying, just we want to make it smart. So again, if we're walking, make sure we know what time, so we don't use an excuse. If it's going to be raining, well, put on your raincoat. You know, if we have that kind of jacket, coat, we can still go out. Let's not use the rain as an excuse. A few examples on the slide of enjoyable activities, but the main thing here is please remember the benefits that it does have links with our sleep, our energy, our concentration. It's helpful for our physical body. So try and ensure there is exercise there in your day-to-day as much as possible, and start small. Start with a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk. It doesn't have to be too much, but always remember doing something is better than nothing. Okay, yes, I will send the slides to Shamsul after the session, and as long as he has everyone's email address, then we will be able to circulate the slides. I think that will be okay, won't it, Shamsul? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, hopefully that's okay. So please do make sure you send your email addresses, and then we'll circulate the slides. So
as you mentioned, sorry to bother you. I'll send the slides, but you have to ensure if you can share your email address with directly. Thank you. Thank you, Khadija. Sorry.
No problem. So just to summarize, we've gone through lots of tips. This is something that listening is the first part of it, but the biggest part is what you do when you go away from this webinar and this workshop. If you don't implement anything, nothing's going to change. So please do review the slides, look at what you can actually implement in your day-to-day. Now, just before we go into any questions, just a couple of things. Now, we are on social media. We are trying to post things about well-being, about the service. So do give us the follow on THT Therapies. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, for this workshop from Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies, we obviously really want to continue doing these workshops out in the community, because obviously there's so many of you today. There's a need for it. You know, we want this support. Now, to allow us to keep doing this, there is a short questionnaire that we would really, really request you to fill in, if that's possible. It will take no more than 10 minutes, but this will basically just be, again, and kind of a follow-up from the session today, just to say that you attended. But the information in this questionnaire does not go anywhere. It's fully confidential. It's purely to let us send this to commissioners to say, actually, look, there are real people who are attending this webinar. So I'm just going to paste the link in the chat box. And this will also be sent by Shamsul, if that's okay with you, Shamsul, with the slides to anyone who's attended today and sent their email addresses. But as I say, without these, it becomes really hard for us to continue doing these workshops out in the community, and we really want to continue. So the link is in the chat box. Just click on that now, have it ready, and do it after the workshop, or we'll email it out. If you can do that within the next couple of days, that would be really appreciated by the service. So there's just a few questions, which I'm just going to go through. So triggered, when I'm triggered, I have always done my everyday duties. They've almost been robotic actions, but I find it hard to concentrate on myself when I'm upset, and one of your daughters suffers as well. So what I would say here is that if it's hard to focus on yourself, this might be where we need to implement a pleasurable activity, something specifically for you, some downtime, something that's for self-care, and just spend 10 minutes a day doing that self-care activity. And you can also encourage your daughter as well to do this. You can even do it together if there's an activity you can both do that you both enjoy. But this can be really key, especially when we're already at home all the time. And, you know, as you said, everyday duties become robotic because they're very easy, you know, they're automatic behaviors, aren't they? We just kind of get on with them. We don't need to think about it. But this is where have that balance. write a diary of your normal day-to-day. So I'm just going to go back to this slide here. So instead of even creating your diary, instead of creating your diary straight away, just write down what you do at the moment. You know, on a day-to-day, this will help us establish where we need to make changes, because I'll say, well, this week, this is what I've kind of done already. And actually, I've not done anything for myself. You know, I didn't have any downtime. From there, we can see, well, this is where I need to make a change. So try and do that for yourself and see how that goes. Daughter suffers with low mood and doesn't get up till 11 or 12. She sleeps very late, saying she can't sleep. So with this, obviously, again, please do seek extra advice if needed. But with routine, it's really important that we slowly start to set different timings for ourselves. So let's say I can't sleep till 2 or 3 in the morning, but because of this, I'm waking up at 1, 2 p.m. every day. If I'm waking up so late, I'm not going to be able to sleep at 11 or 12 or what we consider an acceptable time. So we slowly want to change these boundaries a little bit. That instead of sleeping at 2 a.m. like I do every day, I'm going to try for 1:30. If I go 1:30, I might wake up half hour earlier. Then let me try and sleep at 1 o'clock, and let me set my alarm for 10 a.m. But also a good thing to do is that as soon as you are meant to be awake, within 20 minutes, plan an activity. Plan that you should be in the shower by 10:20. That will motivate us to get up a little bit quicker. You know, plan that you're going to make a cup of tea for yourself at a specific time, because this, again, we need motivation to get up. Right now, pandemic, some of us might feel there's nothing to get up for. I might as well stay in bed. So we want to create something to get up for, and especially for people we support, the children, we want to try and establish that routine for them as well. Okay. If I try to cheer her up, she tells me to stop. How do I deal with this? So this one obviously might take a bit more support, but I think the first step is looking at what we've covered today and try and establish some kind of routine. Trying to communicate openly that what can I do? Is there anything I can do to make things a bit easier or a bit better? And then see and think about how it goes from there. Okay. So are there any other questions? And just again, please do fill in the questionnaire that I've sent out, if that's okay. We really do appreciate it, and it really helps us going forward to continue with these initiatives for mental health workshops. So yeah, if you can do that for us. I'll hand it over to Shamso. I think there's no other questions. If anything comes up, I'll stay here anyway while you're speaking, Shamso, to finish off. Yeah, and I'll answer any other questions after you've spoke if anything comes up. But thank you everyone for listening. I hope that was helpful for you all today.
You know, I think we all agree that, you know, today's, I think, workshop that we had is really, really interesting. And I've learned a lot. I find these kind of workshops, because generally, obviously, for us, it's about raising awareness and letting people know, but having these practical workshops make a huge difference. So yeah, so Khadija, we'd like to thank you from us and all the participants here today for your very informative workshop, and definitely do this workshop again.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, this has been one of the most beneficial workshops, I think, you know, that I've been part of so far, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned a lot. So yeah, today we've also had a lot of people send the email address today, which is good. I reckon 50% plus have.
Brilliant.
So what I'm going to be doing with everybody is sending you the link for Khadija's, you know, her feedback. And I would encourage you, please, as I said, isn't it, you know, we're all doing our bit, you know, for the community, and obviously we need to show that we're making a difference with our work. And this is part of Khadija's work that, you know, that she needs, it's part of her work. So she's giving back to us, that we need to give back to her. So it's really important that, you know, we give her that support, like, you know, afterwards. And what I'm going to do, if you haven't actually, you know, given me your email, I'd really appreciate if you can still send it now, please. So obviously it's important for us to stay in touch with you and get some feedback, also to let you know what we're doing. But I'm grateful for everybody that has. Khadija, if you can stop sharing, then I can go to my bit.
Of course.
If everybody can wait for a bit. I've not finished yet.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So yeah, before we go, a few things. Obviously, the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum, we have a lot more workshops happening in the upcoming weeks, and you can come along and get involved. Next week, we have one on, actually that information is correct. It's on actually understanding mental health on the 4th of March. So yeah, please ignore low mental health awareness shops. That's a mistake by myself. So next week's workshop is increasing awareness of mental well-being. and that will be undertaken in Bengali. And it's at the same time, 11 to 12:30. It'll be managed by our chair, Dr. Shamsun Islam. She's a clinical psychologist. Following that week, we're going to be having another workshop in Bengali. I found the Bengali workshops, there's a lot of demand for it, so we're facilitating it. It's on learning disabilities and mental health. Again, Dr. Shamsun Islam, this is her specialist area, and she'll be focusing on that, presenting that group. On the 18th of March, we're doing a workshop on supporting young people's mental well-being. This is a very well-attended workshop. We've done this last month in Bengali, and we had 42 attendees. Previously, we've had 30 plus. Everybody's demanding that we continue with this workshop. So we're continuing on a monthly basis, because I think obviously at this right moment of the pandemic and with young people's mental health increasing and, parents struggling, this workshop is, a vital workshop. On the 24th of March, again, I'm looking forward to this because Khadija will be back and she'll be talking about managing worry. So I'm expecting a similar type of workshop, very practical in the sense that, we can take techniques away from it. Things that, personally, hopefully we find valuable in terms of, obviously we're learning about different areas, but we need to find that practical ways of doing it. And I think Khadija does it very well with her workshop. So we're grateful to them. So she's coming back on the 24th to present again. In terms of involvement opportunities, as I mentioned, we're setting up a women's Let's Talk forum. We'd encourage all women to take part in this. We're trying to form a group of 10 to 12. It'll be a peer-led group supported by clinical psychologists and mental health professionals initially. It's the idea is we're providing a safe space for women to talk about, the mental well-being or any issues that they have, and get supported by peers and professionals. The long-term objective is obviously it becomes a peer-led group, and it becomes a social network for people involved in this process, and they can decide what they want to do. So one of our volunteers, Nadia, who's probably here as well, she's supporting us with this. So this will start next week on a Wednesday. It's at 11 o'clock. I have emailed all the posters, but people that have attended recently today, I'll forward it to you again. So if you do want to get involved, please do let us know. It'll be more of a proactive group, so you need to be involved on a weekly basis. Yeah. So that's great. My colleague Angela's here. She might briefly say something about NHS transformation. Angela, you there? Angela.
Hello. Hi. First of all, can I apologize for joining you so late? And I'm sure it was a brilliant session.
Yes. It's one of the best, to be honest with you, for me.
Was it Khadija? Obviously, yeah. No, I'm really sorry I missed it, Khadija.
No worries.
Yeah, next time. Yeah, just to say, so I work at East London NHS Foundation Trust, and as part of the NHS transformation that's taking place, my colleagues are conducting interviews and focus groups with local people who might have used our services, but also people who haven't, but who have ideas and opinions. And they would really like to hear from people. If you're interested in this, maybe you can drop me a message either in the chat, or you could contact us via Shamsur. He can pass on our details to you. So yeah, thank you.
Yes. So what I'll do, Angela, I have a synopsis of the project and contact details of whoever's, obviously giving me the details today. I'll forward them over. And if anybody does want to take part in this, the work that Angela's talking about, please do let me know. And we'll forward you the details to them. Yeah. So, and then lastly, obviously, we've got my contact details. It's really important that obviously, if you want to see our videos, we have Bengali speaking videos on our YouTube channel. So yeah, you can go to our YouTube channel, just type in Bangladeshi Mental Health Forum, and you can go and see it. Khadeija's video that she did last time, it was interesting. It's on there as well. And the previous workshops we've done as well, we put them up on there. They're getting good views, and today's workshop we'll put up there as well. I think it's very beneficial, today's one. So I'll actively promote it on, all my channels and Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. So yeah, please do support us. Go and subscribe to us. Tell people about our Twitter. Just sign up. Do get involved with us in the capacity of, if you want to volunteer, become a trustee, whatnot. We're open to those. My email address is there, Shamsu@Bangladesh Mental Health Forum. And we're keen to have you involved. Hopefully you'll join us next week. And I think before I wanted to go, actually, Khudaija, I'm sure there's lots of people still on. Maybe we can share a bit of signpost information. I think that makes sense, Angela, right? Is that okay? Maybe you can talk about Angela since you're yeah. So basically, if anybody's interested, we'll just tell you about some local services, which we always do in our workshops. I think it's important that people know about what's out there to get support and help. And I'll do that now. Hold on, let me see if I can share.
Okay.
Okay, so. Can you see Angela?
Yeah.
So yeah, please, if you can just go over them and we can help you there. So.
Okay, so East London Trust, actually, we have primary and secondary care services because Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies is part of it. But of course, I'm sure Khadija's given, an introduction to Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies, which is her service, and you can self-refer. So East London Trust, then we provide a number of other services. So we have community mental health teams, and that's for people who have more severe and enduring mental health difficulties and who need kind of longer term, more intensive input. And we have inpatient services for when people need to come into hospital. We have early intervention service for people who may be experiencing kind of first signs or first episode of psychosis. And all of those services can be accessed through your GP. So usually the GP is the person who refers to those services. We also have psychological therapies. So it's therapies a bit like the service that Khadija works with, but slightly different in the sense that it's again for people who have more severe and enduring mental health problems. And that's with our psychological therapy service. Again, the main point of contact will usually be your GP. What else have we got here? We have a 24-hour mental health crisis helpline that people can phone if they're experiencing a crisis. And at the moment, we also have a crisis hub. So that's where people can come in. So usually what will happen is if you phone the helpline and they think you need to be seen by somebody straight away, they will refer you into the hub. So it's based in Whitechapel, just opposite the Royal London. And that's where people can go and get help in a crisis. Our Tower Hamlets Recovery College, I would highly recommend this to everybody. It's open to anybody who lives, works or studies in Tower Hamlets. You don't have to be somebody who's used mental health services. So you can be a service user, a carer, an interested community member. They do fantastic courses. So this term, currently, they're still online, but hopefully be face-to-face soon. And they cover all kinds of aspects of mental health. So they talk about particular mental health problems. They also do things like Islam and mental health, capitalism and mental health, art and creativity and mental health. So, do check out the Recovery College. You can refer yourself, or rather than refer, you can sign up yourself to come to the courses there. And they also do personal learning plans with people. So, you know, you can look at, you know, building up your skills and knowledge with them. And they also have fantastic opportunities for people to get involved as peer tutors. So all the courses that they do are co-produced, and that means that they've been developed by someone with lived experience of mental health problems together with a professional. And so the courses are really properly responsive to the things people say that, you know, really helps them with recovery. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Recovery College, and yeah, you
Yes,
can, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
you know
stop
what? Thank you,
talking.
Angela. I think you've covered, you know, the East London Foundation remit. Thank you very much. I mean, obviously we have people from outside Tower Hamlets. I just wanted to highlight that, you know, most of you, wherever you live, you will have a secondary care mental health trust provider that will probably provide some of the similar service that we talked about today and what Angela's spoken about. So yeah, please do refer to your own mental health trust and find out what services they have that you can access. For us in Tower Hamlets, and I think generally across, obviously, there's a mind usually in all areas that we live in. In Tower Hamlets, they are like main, for self-referral purposes, they are main, like, you know, contact point. So they would be your main contact person at first instance if you do want to get a bit of support, and they'll connect you up to the right services. So bear in mind that Mind in Tower Hamlets is an important organization for us in this borough. Something that we as an organization have started up, the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum, is a signpost and information service. It's very slow picking. Hopefully, the idea with this service is that currently we have an online and phone consultation where you can speak to us and just get support that's somebody that speaks in Bengali with any issues that you have. And the idea is that they'll support you to access the right service. So we launched that only a week ago. We're at this right moment is obviously at the point of promotion. I'm hoping when schools open, we can do leafleting and get that up and running properly. But of course, I mean, I would forward the details of our poster to everybody that's attended today. And please do, you know, promote this service for us. I think it's an important service for our community, especially the ones that, you know, struggle to speak in English. And then we can support them with the access. So yeah, please engage with the Bangladesh Mental Health Signpost and Information Service. The other ones generally, you know, I think in terms of like, if you want more information about mental health, understand a bit more, I mean, I will look at Mental Health Foundation, the address emails there, Mind, the national organization, Mental Health UK. And there's a various list of organizations on there, which I will actually send to you as part of our information pack if you have emailed me. So this piece of information will be sent to you so you can access it yourself. But also for young people at this right moment, I find that, you know, a lot of people want to know about service for young people. So there's an organization called Young Minds, it's national. They have a support line for parents as well as for young people, so you can access them for help. Angela's already spoken about Timeless Crisis Line. It's just for anybody at any point if you're feeling that you need a bit of help or support. For anybody that wants to engage with in terms of more of an Islamic perspective and get support from an Islamic organization, there's the Muslim Youth Helpline. The numbers there as well, so you can access them. And as we mentioned, for young people, again, there is a service called the CAMS, which is managed by East London Foundation Trust, support for young people's mental well-being. Again, wherever you live, if you're not living in Tower Hamlets, there's always a CAMS service, a mental health service for young people, wherever you live. It'll be provided by your mental health provider. And in Tower Hamlets, we have other organizations as well called Step Forward and Doctrines Outreach, and they also support young people with their mental well-being and one-to-one and counseling. So yeah, so those are the organizations. I think I like to share it. I think obviously there are people who are repeated coming here, but there's always somebody new that will benefit from this information. So hopefully, I hope you found that useful. And hopefully found this workshop useful. My details are on there. Please do stay in touch with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. So, I mean, from us, it's goodbye from us. And it's been a pleasure. And if anybody that, obviously, if you can just just log off at this right moment and we just stay behind. So I'm going to stop the video recording.
You want wings?